All right, everybody, welcome back. We have exciting stuff to talk about today. I know we have lots of people that registered and are on the call. But today, my friend Brian is here from Batch, and we're going to talk about all kinds of cool things. I've said this a lot of times. I've been in this business since 2002, and there's literally one thing that I could not ever do without, and that is a good service that I can pull lists from and get my comparable property so I know what to offer people, so I know what this property is going to be worth when it's fixed up, but also where I can pull good lists and do skip tracing. And that is why I'm such a big fan of Batch. So, Brian, super excited that you are here today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, David. It's always fun to join these community calls, kind
Yeah.
of highlight the product and help you guys align this with your sales process and the real estate investing wholesale
Hmm.
model. We've got some new features that I wanted to highlight a little bit. I
Hmm.
know everyone is kind of getting the buzz about some AI, and we've got a
Yes.
batch rank AI feature
Mhm.
that I think will definitely help out the investor persona we have using the product.
Cool. So give me just like the 1 minute overview because you guys do a lot of things to help investors. You've been around for a long, long time. Just kind of the overview, like Batch does a lot of different things, and then I definitely want to get into a little bit of the product and how everyday investors can be using this to help their business.
Sure, sure. So at the core, we supply contact data for homeowners. A lot of this is in service-based industries, real estate investors, and then give you a couple go-to-market strategies with direct mail. We've got
Mhm.
a dialer product, but allowing you to pull data with specific filters and then have a marketing strategy to get in contact with those to expose them to your services or offerings that you have.
Nice. So you're kind of that, almost everything all in one on the marketing side, on the lead side.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Nice.
And there's a lot of things on the batch lead side that I think we've got a good competitive advantage on with the
Mhm.
filters, being able to get very detailed,
Yeah.
aligning, what your cash buyers are looking for with the
Mhm.
properties that you're going to try to target and market towards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that I love about Batch is, the your owners are real investors. They were wholesalers and investors and rehabbers and developers,
Hmm.
and they built this system because they saw that there was a need in the market, kind of very similar to us at Easy REI Closings, but there was a need to,
Right.
provide something that really worked for investors, and it wasn't meant for appraisers and realtors and all of that stuff. So yeah, I think that's why you guys have become such a name brand in our industry.
Yeah, I always like to say the three founders here, Annie, Evo, and Jesse, were investors and then built this
Mhm.
platform for investors by
Yeah.
investors. So they have a good understanding of what you guys need.
Mhm.
We're trying to supply that in an easy process that doesn't
Yeah.
have a long learning curve. It's not a crazy tech platform to integrate with into your existing process.
Cool. I tell people I'm not that smart, so I love that you guys keep it simple. Well, let's jump
Yeah,
in. Let's start with some very basic stuff, and maybe we can get a little more complicated. We got about 45 minutes here, so yeah, let's jump in.
perfect. Yeah, if I can, I'll share my screen here.
You
I'm
can.
on a double monitor, so I might be looking away, but I'm
That's
just
okay.
trying to focus on where where I'm guiding you here. So
All
we'll
right.
start out in the batch leads platform. This is basically going to be your lead generation list building. There's a couple different lists I'll highlight here in our property search that we have the ability to identify. A lot of people will start diving in to look for properties, right? They're trying to find a distressed seller, a good fix and flip property, which is great.
Hmm.
One of the things that we try to have, honestly, that has helped a lot of people that are just getting started is using our cash buyers filter and being able to identify cash buyers in their market first, building
Yes.
a relationship that way. And then you can
Hmm.
specifically search for their criteria in here. So I'll do a quick example just to show you guys. I'm going to use Phoenix here just because it's a market that we're, you know, local in here. We'll
Yeah.
do residential single family. That's kind of the bread and butter for most investors. The next part is going to be identifying a cash purchase in your market. So we can have cash purchase flipped onto yes. The owner type, if you want to do individual or company owned, you can. A lot of these purchases might be in trusts or LLCs specifically set up for kind of that investor purchase.
Yeah.
The number of properties is going to be a key differentiator here. To start, I like to do a minimum of 5, and
Yes.
then the
Very
purchase
smart.
date being the last 12 months.
Yeah.
If for some reason we have an overwhelming majority of cash buyers that hit this, we can
Mhm.
refine the search a little bit, maybe go to 10, or if you guys are in a very active market, maybe go to 15.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to identify here, I'll click on this first one. This one was in a trust, but as you uncover the property card here, one of the things we're going to be able to identify not only is going to be their, phone numbers and email address of the owner, but we're also going to be able to see an owner profile and kind of peek behind the curtain of like, hey, what do they own? Where do they own it? These are kind of scattered around. Doesn't really seem like he's in a predominant market or is like a buy and hold investor where he's got several
Mhm.
rentals. And you can
Yeah.
kind of click through here and maybe scan to see, hey, this might be a good property here.
Yeah.
Um, Click the owner profile, check to see, oh wow, they've got a lot here in Phoenix suburb area. They purchased this one last year, but there hasn't been a lot of activity since. And you're just trying to go through and highlight potential buyers that you can add to your buyers list. So boom, here's more of a institutional buyer maybe, right? They've got a lot of properties scattered throughout the country,
Mhm.
and this potentially could be a hedge fund in your market that's looking to take down
Yeah. One of the
a lot of
reasons I
property.
love starting with buyers first is it tells you what your audience is looking for, right? Like
Exactly.
I tell people I could love vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream. And if I bought an ice cream truck tomorrow, I would fill it with vanilla and chocolate because that's what I like. But if I go out there and realize people want pistachio, then that's what I should be stocking my ice cream truck with, right? So,
Exactly.
this is really a smart way to go about it is to search and look at what buyers are actually buying in today's market. And then I love the five or more because this does away with like the doctor who bought his house for cash, right? Or somebody who had a little bit of
Exactly.
money and paid cash. So now we're only getting real investors, and that's the biggest problem with data is making sure that we're getting the right thing. Now let me ask you this: could I just pull like an Excel list, all of these properties, and put it into an Excel list?
Yeah. So, David, the
Okay.
next step here, once you identify, hey, these are the cash buyers that are active in my market, they've bought in the last year for cash,
Hmm.
they've got several properties, we can select all of these and save them to your list.
Hmm.
So, we can go through here, save this as our test filter, and this would be cash buyers.
Hmm.
Save that, boom, and that'll go right into your list. You can save
Nice.
the agent's info as well.
Oh,
Typically, people aren't interested in that, so we're going to skip.
yeah.
But in just a couple of clicks, you've been able to save almost 600 cash buyers. This is Phoenix for the
Nice.
example, but you could break down a city or even a
Hmm.
zip code. If you guys do
Yeah.
have a lot of activity, another way to get a little bit more detailed or granular with it would be searching on
Hmm.
a zip code level.
Yeah. So what I like to do with this is I take that big list and then I can start to sort it and manipulate it. But I want to see, what is the average square foot size? What is the average price? What is the average number of beds and baths? And that kind of gives me a middle ground of where to shoot for. People who are far better at Excel than me with pivot tables and all those fancy things. There's a lot of data that you can look in there very, very quickly to say, okay, this is what the majority of buyers in this market are buying. It's between 450 and 650,000, and it's this number of square foot, and these are the predominant zip codes. So I absolutely love doing this first.
hmm And then these will show up in your overall database. So as you
Hmm.
save properties, these
Nice.
will show up there and the skip trace process happens at that time.
Hmm.
So if you guys do click into this, you'll be able to uncover phone numbers, cell phones, or landlines with some email addresses
And
for
what
the
does
property
that
owner.
cost me to get the phone numbers and the emails?
Right now, it's included with the subscription. So the
Wow.
subscription limits you based on the volume of properties that you can save each month,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
there's no additional charge per record or per skip trace anymore.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. I remember when skip
So
tracing was like 20 cents a piece. It was
yeah,
wild.
yeah, exactly. So and just to give you guys a little reference, I've been with the company for a little over 3.5 years, and when I first started, it was 15 cents per record for skip tracing. So
Hmm.
now that it's included is tremendous value. And since we've been on this call, we've been able to pull a cash buyers list, save it, get their phone numbers. The next step, if you guys wanted to, would be to start calling this, start sending direct mail to it, try
Uh-huh.
to get in contact with them and understand their buying criteria.
Yeah.
So one of the things here, I'm not going to go too detailed into it, but with our
Hmm.
batch dialer as well, in our actions button now, we have the option to connect this right to a campaign
Ah.
in batch dialer. So if we wanted to call these cash buyers right now, we can add a new tag and have this be our cash buyers list.
Mm-hmm.
Save that, boom, and then this is right in there, and you guys can start calling this list in a couple of minutes.
And you have the
So
dialer, right? You can drop it into
right,
your dialer. Dude.
right, exactly. So with that being said, in the same day, you guys could break into a new market, pull a cash buyers list, get their criteria, understood a little bit more, kind of get your finger on the pulse for what they're buying. And then as you go back into that market, we'll use Phoenix, for example. Now we're going to go and search specifically for those types of properties. So we'll say your buyer is looking for single family, and we can get detailed with the characteristics of the home. So he wants maybe a minimum of at least 3 bedrooms,
Mm-hmm.
minimum of 2 bathrooms,
Yeah.
a specific living square footage, we'll say at least 1,800, trying to get a good sized family home in there, and then maybe a year built range.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they don't want to deal with something that's too old, so maybe they're going to do like 1990 to 2010. And they want somewhat of a newer home. Maybe it's not going to have as many repairs,
Right.
electrical and plumbing and all that stuff's more up to
Mm-hmm.
date. And maybe this buyer's looking for something that's more of a turnkey rental, right? So MLS status, we can come in here, select no for off market. The cash buyer stuff, we'll be able to eliminate that and eliminate the purchase date. So we'll clear this out. Let me reset those. So residential, single family. MLS status is going to be no.
So now we're
Property
looking for sellers.
characteristics
Yeah.
to, yeah, so these are going to be your motivated homeowners. These are going to be the homeowners you're going to try to get in contact with
Mm-hmm.
to get their property under contract. So individual is going to be a key piece here for ownership info.
Yeah.
Typically, the company-owned properties, like we talked about before, were bought as an investor-minded person.
Yeah.
LLCs and trusts typically are meant to protect the property long-term.
Mm-hmm.
Another good one here is the valuation or equity. So we could do a percentage, minimum of 50. If you were to get a deal done, they're probably going to walk away from closing with some skin in the game and get tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands in your market,
Yeah.
and kind of sweetens the deal for them.
Right.
So this right here is going to break down the search for, I think it was around 8,500 properties. We'll let
Yeah.
this calculate and do its thing. Just under
Right.
8,600. This is where I want to highlight the batch rank AI. So this is going to help sift through the noise. I know it's going to take a long time. If you're mailing, it would be crazy expensive to do a direct mail campaign to 8,500 properties. If you were
Mm-hmm.
calling and it's just yourself, even if you did have a couple of VAs helping you with the volume on the outbound dialing,
Mm-hmm.
this could take several weeks to prospect through, even
Yeah.
if you're full-time on the phone.
So a
So with
couple of, let me
batch,
jump in here for 1 second real quick.
okay,
I want to get to
go ahead.
this, but guys, the importance of being able to go in here and pull a list. Let's compare and contrast. Like if you do PPC, right, which you can certainly do, it's very expensive, but you're going to go out there and you're going to start running a Google ad, and it's very difficult to pinpoint and get exactly what you want, right? I can send it to Phoenix, or I can send it to Minneapolis or Boston or whatever it is, and I'm just going to kind of throw out some ads there in front. And who knows what I'm going to get? Maybe I'm not even going to get a property in that area because somebody from Pittsburgh happened to be in Boston and they're going to send me, they're going to fill out that property. So, what I love about this and what Batch is doing and being able to pull these lists is I can get exactly what it is that my clients are actually looking for, what my buyers have told me they want. So if they want, a $300,000 house or a $300,000 townhome with 4 bedrooms and 2 baths or whatever it is, like we can literally go out there and just pull those properties and only spend the time on the properties that are actually going to fulfill what our buyers are looking for. Guys, that is such a cheat code. That is such a hack to be able to go in there and only put stuff in the top of your funnel that you want to come out. So I just wanted to make that
Right.
point real quick before we move on.
Yeah, and definitely, David, on the funnel thing, I'm going to piggyback off of that and continue here with our batch rank AI, which is literally just that. It's a AI machine learning program on the back end that our data
Mm-hmm.
science team has been able to curate to be able to have a slider and say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, show me the properties,
I love it.
essentially this is going to be the 10% most likely to sell properties. And now we've sifted that list down to right around 1,000.
Boy, that flame should get bigger the further it goes.
Right. So as David described, you're kind of sifting through the noise. You're getting just to the stuff that would be top of funnel and hopefully hits your buyer's criteria, as well as these personas should be in a good spot, or a good place to move here. So there are a couple things that you guys can look through here on the property detail card as we open these up. So jumping into this one, we'll go over a couple things here. So they were, last sold 2015. If we take a look at our estimated value here, they've almost doubled up in value. So that's kind of that 50% equity property owner. If they were to get a deal done with you, there'd be a lot of profit here that they could walk away with, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this might be a great property that fits your buyer's criteria. So we've got some pictures in here from the last MLS posting, give you a good understanding. Kind of dark, kind of old. I'd say it was dated. They do have granite or some decent fixtures in here, but it's not a new remodel, right? Could be like 10, 15 years ago. They've got a pool in the backyard. Looks like a good suburban cookie cutter home.
Yeah.
Might be
Now,
a
when the
great
AI
lead for you.
when you're pushing that AI, what types of things is it looking for?
It evaluates a lot of stuff on the back end. Specifically, could be characteristics that these homeowners have made either financially or with some online inquiries that could potentially have them leading up to making a move. If that's listing the home with an agent, could be taking a cash offer from an investor group, hopefully similar to what you guys would be offering. And they're looking to relocate or looking to move soon.
Okay. All right. Nice.
And after you guys do get into this, maybe this is something that, hey, you've identified them, they're looking to entertain an offer. Where do you go from here? How do you create your offer? We've got a comparables tab that a lot of folks will use in the underwriting process. And on the right-hand side, similar with our filters on the property search section, you can also come in and make sure that, hey, we're comping this with the same similar properties, maybe built within 10 years, plus or minus a bedroom or a bathroom. Located within 5 miles is a little far away, let's say within a mile. And then filter that down so you're getting more similar style properties. And this may have been just a bad one that's in a unique spot, but let me see, what do we do here? We'll go 20 years. Is this, it could be just a unique like golf course neighborhood. Bad example there. Let me click through to a different one to go through on a quick comping example. But hopefully if there is some activity in the neighborhood, you're able to layer in some comps here, get detailed with your criteria, so that way you're able to evaluate a good property and justify it with data. It's not just, hey, we're going to give you $1 million for this place. It's here's exactly what some of the other homes have sold for, and be able to identify that and support it. In this, I'm going to take away the active and the pending, so we'll look for sold and sold comparables. Update that. And then this one's a little bit better. So we do have some other houses that we can choose from in here. And let's try to find same bed and bath square footage. So on this, I like to try to find maybe the same floor plan with similar square footage, 2-story home. And if you guys want, there's tons of pictures on here that if you are evaluating kind of your after repair value. We get
That's
into
so
the
valuable. My goodness, in the old days, you'd be doing comps and you have no idea if, even though it was the same square footage, if it was remotely the same type of property. So this is so helpful for people.
And this is literally opened up the floor plan. Kitchen is whites and grays, updated island, new flooring. It's bright, so they've got lots of natural light, good photos. Pool in the back, bathroom updated for the master. So this is like your ARV comp essentially, right? If you guys were to go through here, that would be kind of what you're looking at as far as that house goes. And that one was similar square footage, same floor plan. And that home sold for,
Was it 908?
last summer for, yeah, 950.
Oh, 950. Geez.
We can click the sale and loan. Yeah, 950 in August of 24. So last summer, it was a while ago. Honestly, I would have liked to seen this maybe around like January, last
Yeah.
6 months, but still a great comp. It's pretty much the same floor plan.
Right.
And I would say your ARV value there's, just under $1 million on this property. If you want to reverse engineer that for what you can offer them, it would be pretty solid. They bought it a couple years ago for 750, so there's probably some skin in the game, depending on how much repairs you think this might need to get to that level. Could get a good offer on the table.
I like it.
So that's a quick way to kind of go through the comping. If you guys do want, we could identify that property as one of the comps that we want to export to an Excel file. You could get it in a PDF. A lot of times people will just go with a tablet or their laptop and kind of go through this with the seller if they are face-to-face or doing this in person. So
very good. Yeah,
that's
guys,
a good
that's
one there.
a tremendous amount of data and value. My goodness, that's again so much. I mean, it's everything that you need. It takes all of the guesswork out of doing this business.
And on here, if you guys wanted to, we can do a different example. We'll flip to Denver. Just throw a different city in there. Same thing. We'll reset this. What we're going to do here is residential single-family homes. The next spot I'm going to go to is going to be MLS status to select no. And that's how the batch rank filter is being able to be applied. So it's just really an off-market strategy that's set up kind of for that wholesaler investor persona. And again, you can sift through the noise and create a really detailed list without a lot of time or thought into this, and be like, hey, in Denver, it's a larger city, but show me kind of that top list, motivated homeowners, people looking to move. And you can cut that down into 14,500 or so.
Yeah.
Again, if you wanted to get more detailed, you could throw a specific zip code in. And that's kind of what I would advise if you guys are in a specific market where you're prospecting or marketing into. Try to do a zip code by zip code basis for buyers and for the homeowners you're marketing to.
Can I put in 2 or 3 zip codes and pull just the data from those zip codes, or do I have to do one at a time?
No, you can. I'll do a quick example here. 80210. You can separate it with a comma and then do 80235 and have both of those targeted. So let's say you've got a buyer who's like, hey, these are the 5 zip codes my crew's working in, and I like to do business in, and show him those parts of town that you'd be able to find deals. So you could search for that.
Guys, absolutely fantastic. Again, we always say start with the end in mind. So, if you're not going to call these buyers, at least do some research and see what the data shows. What zip codes are having the most number of cash sales in the last 3, 6, maybe 9 months. In those zip codes, what is it that they're buying? Great. Once you figure that out, and that should take a couple of hours, 2 hours, 3 hours if you're messing around. And then you can take that data, reverse engineer it. And now we're going to go look for those types of properties, and using the batch rank, the AI, who are the most likely people within this group that want to sell. Bam, dude, that's like the cheat code. That's like having the teacher's edition to the high school textbook.
Literally. And just spending your time and resources with properties that are going to yield good results, right? We want to try to sift through the noise and get away from the tire kickers, get away from the people that aren't actually looking to hear out an offer or any solutions and move forward.
Nice.
As we've gotten into batch, being able to identify cash buyers as well as some property owners, briefly do some comping to get some values and understand what the potential ARV value could be, and then kind of back that off for repairs, your fee, title costs, and get your offer created. There's a couple marketing options. So we do have the ability to do direct mail in batch. We've got letters and 2-size
Oh,
postcards
wow.
that you guys could send out.
Hmm.
And we've recently updated this quite a bit to where we give you guys pretty much full control on the ability to edit the template
Oh, look
and
at
have
that.
this appear as branded to your style of company or the solutions you guys offer. This is mainly like the realtor focused one, but
Hmm.
if you wanted to put your picture up there or delete it
Oh, look at that.
completely, you can
Hmm.
throw your company logo in, kind of your branding. If these houses don't look like the homes in your market, you can switch those out so it looks like you're, the
Hmm.
local professional targeting them specifically, and it's not just like a clip art copy and paste from
Yeah,
the Midwest and you guys don't live in that market. Get
that's
real
pretty neat.
detailed on that. And I've had a lot of people that get targeted with the type of homeowner they're approaching with this. And a lot of times they're finding good results on direct mail
Hmm.
in the last 6 months, last 8 months.
That's amazing. I love that.
So that's an option in there. We
Hmm.
also have a signature on the back where you guys can kind of have your company info. If there's a website or any disclosure slogans or anything you guys
Hmm.
need to include there, you can, and track that and send out direct mail campaigns.
I love that because I know for most of the coaches that we work with, a lot of people are leaning back into direct mail. They're saying that it's
Mhm.
it's just been working better for them than the PPC and the PPL.
And honestly, a funny story I have on that, we had some guys that had a wallet balance remaining in their account that they were used to use for skip tracing and for
Yeah.
data, where now it was like, hey, that's included. So what am I going to spend this on? I advised them to spend it on direct mail.
Yeah.
They were a little resistant in the beginning.
Hmm.
After a month of kind of, hey guys, what are you going to use that for? I just want to let you know you can fire out a direct mail campaign. They actually ended up sending one
Hmm.
and got 5 deals out of it.
Ah, nice.
So they were like, hey, we just did this kind of by accident and it worked. And now they
Hmm.
want to focus a little more attention on it
Yeah.
and get more, strategized. So it
Yeah.
was one of those things that they just blasted out to their list on a
Hmm.
follow-up campaign and ended up getting some engagement. So they were like, oh, all right, we'll start throwing that into the, weekly or monthly
Yeah.
marketing blasts. And we
I love
also
it.
have letters on there as well. So if it's not a front or back postcard, you guys want to send letters out, you can do
Hmm.
that. Depending if you're targeting an older audience, is somewhat more receptive to letters like an empty nester or the retirees,
Yeah.
um, and go that way.
Yeah, the interesting thing is some people say, well, direct mail doesn't work anymore. Well, if you're 20, direct mail doesn't work, right? If you're
Right.
30,
Yeah.
direct mail doesn't work because you don't care. Everything for you has always been online. But the people
Right.
that are selling these properties are typically 50, 60, 70 years old. They are still people who go out and get their mail in the mailbox every single day. And,
Right.
they're just conditioned to, picking that up and reading it and going through and opening every single letter. So direct mail definitely still works.
Right. And you got to think about what David said with your audience as well. Like if you're in your, 30s, 40s, or 50s now, how would you communicate with
Mhm.
your parents? Are
Yeah.
they going to respond to a text message from a stranger? Maybe,
Right.
maybe not. Are they engaged with their phone as often as we are in kind of the younger generation? They might, look forward to getting addressed mail that's got their name on
100%.
it and they feel proud that they're a homeowner and they can open this up as someone identified them to try to talk to.
When my mom was
So,
alive, every single day when I was over there, "Can you go out and get my mail? Get my mail. Make
right.
sure you get my mail."
Right.
It was a
And
very
a
big
lot of a
thing.
lot of times that's the highlight of their day. They could be in
Yeah,
a sticky situation and you're
yeah,
providing a letter that's able to help them.
yeah,
So that
yeah. When
that's
and
a
when you
great
get
way
someone to
to.
open a letter, you have their full attention. They are gonna sit
Correct.
there and read it and think about all of the things that are in there, and you can get great response.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So with direct mail as one option, we also do have kind of the tried and true method, cold calling or our dialer platform. As you guys do get in here to batch leads and start saving lists,
Mhm.
what you're able to do that I described earlier with real quick, being able to identify a list on here,
Yeah,
if this was just a test example, and then send this over to batch dialer as you have a campaign in there.
nice.
So once that's sent over, what you're able to do in dialer is call through the leads that you sent through. With just a couple of clicks, that list gets bumped over, and you guys can come through here if you have yourself making calls, if it's a VA or someone working remote, kind of out of the office, We've got the ability to sign them on, give them limited user permissions as well.
Someone's
So if
got
you want
a
something,
tough team there.
oh right, with the names here,
Yeah.
yeah,
Man, is
it
that the
was like
all-star
a
team or what?
Halloween. I think it was like a Halloween one, yeah.
Yeah. Gee whiz.
um,
They don't give up.
coming
You will
coming
sell to
through here,
them.
they're yeah, the killer's on the phone is
That's
kind of
right.
the idea behind it. Coming through here, as you do pop open a property card, same thing would happen with the batch leads information. Someone answers a call here on batch dialer, you'll be exposed to their property card. So you'll have kind of some images to click through so you could talk about the house,
Mhm.
as well as an aerial map where you can talk about maybe a main street, or if there's a park close by, schools, things like that. And then have some data about the home so you can have more of an educated conversation with them.
Mhm.
And it's not just like a random person that happened to answer. You actually know a little bit about Brandon
Oh,
and
that's
his house here. So there's a lot of stuff that you can take notes on if they do reveal anything in that convo, and kind of give your follow-up guy, acquisitions rep
uh-huh.
typically does a follow-up call. You're kind of giving them ammo to go to battle with.
Love it.
So if they revealed anything in that conversation about pain
Mhm.
points or about the price they might want, something like that, great to put it in here in the notes and be able to see a little snapshot of like, hey, this would be a quality lead that we got kicked over.
And over there on the right, you can have your script pop up. Is that what that is?
Yeah. So in our campaign setup, one of the things you guys would be able to add in here, I created one this morning for easy REI closings just to show through as this example. You're able to add the agents, super simple. You can pick phone numbers through us across the country. So you can
Mhm.
specifically target states with an area code and have that area code show up as your caller ID. The next layer on top of that is our advanced plan on Batch Dialer has the phone reputation management tool, which automatically replaces that number if it gets flagged or labeled
Mhm.
scam likely, spam
Mm.
risk, something like that.
Yeah.
So the phone numbers are super important that you call into. Um, these should be matched with the area codes that your homeowners live in.
Right.
Pretty
Right.
self-explanatory. Trying to look like a local contact and pop up there. But yeah, you are able to add a sales script here if you want, and have that formatted typically for your discovery call in the beginning, trying to
Mhm.
gain some interest or maybe pick away at some pain points or
Yeah.
motivation that they might have.
So, guys, where you may
You
want
can,
to adjust that is if you're calling a probate list, or if you're calling a
yeah,
pre-foreclosure list, or if you're calling, absentee owners who've owned it for 30 years. Those might be a little bit, on the older side, and looking to downsize or not deal with those tenants, or a tired landlord list, something like that. So, yeah, absolutely great that you can do that. That way, your team doesn't have to think about it, right? You can upload this list and
exactly.
tell them, hey, start calling, because the more things that we can take off their plate so that they can just be focused on making those calls, the better it's going to be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
On here, the last part would be making sure your call results align with your sales process.
Mhm.
I always try to throw in qualified lead because typically there's no like successful sale on the initial call, right? So the qualified lead would be the outcome that we're looking for.
Yeah.
You can attach your script there and then save that campaign, boom, and then you can start calling that.
Nice.
Super
So simple.
easy. It's simple to get in there. The one last part I wanted to show you guys about was the phone system management, being
Hmm.
able to detect if you are flagged or labeled by any of the main carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, or some of the third-party analytic companies that have popped up over the last 6 to 8 months that have
Yeah.
made cold calling a little more challenging. I'm sure you guys are aware there's been
Sure.
some rules and regulations that have evolved over the last few years, and you've got to kind of get creative and leverage tech to help us stay ahead of the cat and mouse game. The
Yeah.
one recent thing was the spam risk, spam likely, negative labeling. So this is our way to kind of combat that and get out in front of it and keep you guys successful on the phones with good conversations and good conversion rate. So
Love it. Very
that's a
good.
really good marketing strategy. As we go back to kind of direct mail working really well with specific personas or lists that you're targeting, same thing with the calling. Depending on the list type or list style that you're trying to engage with, they could be really receptive to being called on the phone. And typically I've heard the afternoons between like 3 and 6 p.m. is
Yeah.
like the hot zone to get in contact with people. And
Hmm.
that's pretty much been unanimous from what I've heard across the board.
Yeah. And even calling in the evenings. I mean, I wouldn't call at 8 o'clock at night, but even
Yeah.
just a little bit later, when people are off of work, definitely works. And Saturdays, again, I personally wouldn't call people on Sundays or late at night, but um,
Mhm.
you can.
And then on here, being able to add additional users is really good. That's is maybe the one place on Dialer where we see people start trying to scale or do more marketing volume.
Hmm.
And a lot of times the next step is they're like, hey, how do I keep track of all my people? How do I make sure that they're doing what they're saying they're supposed to do? We can come in here and filter a couple different ways, outbound specifically by call results here if you wanted to. And let me do a larger range just so we have some data pop up. But if you guys want, you can see how like successful sales or like a positive call result, in our instance, qualified lead, get a quick snapshot. All of the calls in here are going to be recorded.
Oh,
So
love that.
you guys can, oh, this may have been too old. It does have an MP4 that you could download or listen to back, and they keep them in there for 90 days. If you guys wanted to download them for quality assurance reasons, or if it is a contact that you're under contract with,
Hmm.
maybe download that, save it, attach it to your CRM file somewhere. But a lot of these you can filter for how the data is doing, and then say, hey, what are my agents doing? Are they, in prep work for 3-4 hours a day, kind of milking the clock? We want to see a lot of time in available. Available is when they're calling into a campaign, making outbound dials, and there should be very little time in after call or prep work as they're taking notes and moving on to the next call disposition. So it's a good way to remotely monitor people if they
Hmm.
are on your team remotely or working overseas. And then a quick way to see, hey, are you using specific area codes or certain
Yeah.
number groups more than others? Try to even that out. And the dialer tool has been a really successful way for people, once they do prove the concept, have a good script in there, you're able to kind of figure it out on your own and then hire and train and scale that out with other reps that would bring you now qualified leads. You've kind of moved to the next step of the puzzle where you're essentially just making offers on qualified leads. You're not really prospecting anymore. So
Man,
that's a common route that I see people go.
absolutely amazing. And I know at least all of our clients and definitely the people that follow us, everybody wants to either break into the business or have something that they can scale. What I love
Mhm.
about this is whether you're a brand new on your first day, you should be buying this. If you're looking to scale your team and get more accurate results, this is going to help you in your business. I love it. It feels like you guys have thought about
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and honestly, this is where Jesse, Annie, and Evo started.
Mhm.
Primarily, it was a lot of, old school marketing tactics back in the day, direct mail, bandit
Yeah.
signs, and then at that time, cold calling was the heavy marketing component that
Yeah.
yielded the most results, and they
Right.
kind of doubled down on that, cut away from bandit signs and direct
Mhm.
mail, and had 4 or 5 acquisition managers on the phones, qualifying leads and
Yeah.
negotiating contracts all day.
Man, I love it. I think it's
So.
great. Absolutely fantastic.
Do you guys have any questions from the chat
I
or
would have
anyone that's
I might have, let's see if we have, I'm not sure. I haven't been paying attention to the chat, unfortunately.
that's okay. I kind
Yeah.
of leave the end of this for Q&A. I know
Yeah.
there's drinking from the fire hose. There's a lot of information about
Yeah.
leads, and then we sprinkled a little bit in there on dialer so you guys can get in contact with them over the phone and start
Yeah.
qualifying these leads and getting offers out.
What is like when, and I know because people call in and they're going to, definitely a lot of people here are going to want to call in and or sign up and, but what are the biggest like 2 or 3 questions that people normally have?
A lot of people typically ask what's the best market to start
Uh-huh.
doing deals in. Um, I would say it would be the market you live in, unless you live in a very small rural town.
I agree.
Um, if you're going to do something where you don't live there and it's completely remote or virtual, or you like to travel a lot and
Hmm.
envision this as like a laptop lifestyle thing,
Yeah.
I would really try to identify a team with boots on the ground. And I know that's kind of a corny term, but what I mean by that is there's a couple components you're going to need in order to get these deals done. The other piece we don't supply in batch leads is going to be some type of title rep or like escrow officer to do the deals with.
That's what
And
we do. So we're good.
yeah, and you guys can point them in the right direction there.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing would be maybe someone who's able to throw a lockbox on a property, take some
Hmm.
photos. It could be
Yeah.
an agent. It doesn't have to be. It could be someone that you know there, friend or family member,
Hmm.
or an internet friend you make off of Facebook or something like that.
Yeah.
So I would say if you can, try to get a contact in there,
Hmm.
and if not, a local notary. I know a lot of times would be able to get
Yeah.
paperwork delivered, get some
Mhm.
signatures if you need, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a nationwide service. It's easy REI notary. So the letter E, the letter Z, REI notary. And yeah, they will go any place, take pictures, take photos, put a lockbox on, post a notice, do any of that type of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think between that, easy REI closings, doing your transactions and title, and this, I mean, that's the bulk of what you need.
Yeah, so between the two, you got all the pieces to the puzzle
Yeah.
that you guys would need to get these deals done at scale in basically any market in the country.
I love it.
Obviously, the higher markets that are popular for just activity. I know a lot of people are
Mhm.
moving to Texas, a lot of people are
Yes.
moving to Florida, mainly
Mhm.
for tax benefits, but
Yeah.
they're also good weather and it's a good spot to be. So I would
Nice.
say either of those have a lot of transactions or activity, and
Mhm.
then I would try to stay out of like the major cities, Chicago, New York,
Mhm.
LA.
Yeah,
Typically, it's tough to break in there.
it
There's a
is.
lot of established kind of titans of the industry, if you will,
Mhm.
and they're they're pretty sophisticated in what they have going on.
Yeah,
So,
I've never loved the large cities. I don't mind being in the outside perimeter cities. That's if you're gonna do some marketing because most people don't think of that. But yeah, no sense in being in Charlotte, right? There's probably 10
yeah,
amazing companies in there that are absolutely just crushing it and have it dialed in.
right.
But again, guys, pick a city or a market that works really good. Like for us, we picked Chattanooga because we're here. And every time we evaluate a new market, we're like, is it better or worse in Chattanooga? If it's better, great, we'll go there. If it's worse, there are other places
That's a
that
great way
we
to
can
do it.
go.
Yeah.
So we will go and look at cash sales for the last 90 days, right? Whatever it is, and then say, okay, great, it's this many cash sales for the county, like just a spot check. And then we'll go to wherever we're at and say, okay, what's the cash sales in this particular county for the last 90 days? Does it match up? Oh, it's better. Great. Boom. This is a place where we can probably do some business. So that's a great
Yeah.
first snapshot to see if we want to delve in too deep into a market.
And then, David, you could also kind of probably shed some light on this with your experience, but also trying to stick to like one strategy and find good
Yes.
solutions that solve that type of problem,
Yeah, don't try to be the
right?
everything to everybody, right? If you're just starting, you know, assignments. So let's just master
Right.
assignments. Be really great at that. Because if there's too many options on your plate, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do an option or an assignment, or should I do a novation or an option or a subject to or a wrap, or like there's just all these things and it just gets to be too confusing. Do one, do it really well, do it for a year or two, like become an expert at it, and then you can sort of feather on some other things, right? But don't try to do everything and the other thing I would say, don't fall in love with the deal. The deal works, it doesn't work. We're here to help people. We want to provide the best solution, but don't you should have a lot of leads in your pipeline. Don't pull up
Right.
10 and be like, I'm going to make one of these work, because chances are it's not. You should probably have 500 or 1,000 leads in there that you're working this week. So that's some advice
Right.
of someone who's done a lot of deals.
Yeah, definitely. And then another thing too, I would also say with the strategy kind of convo,
Hmm.
be either a wholesaler focusing on assignments and maybe try to
Hmm.
stay away from, oh, I'm going to flip a couple properties on the side, or like
Yeah.
I'm going to take
Yeah.
this one down. And then
Mm.
you realize you're not marketing for assignments anymore. You're
Mhm.
managing a construction project.
Yes.
Your pipeline dries up when
100%.
your flip is ready to get listed. And then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, now I've got this
Yeah.
cash, but no more
Yeah.
opportunities to buy.
All of the big companies, every single one, and we have wholesale clients who do over 40 properties a month. They have a system and it's like freaking clockwork, man. They do one
Mhm.
thing, they do it better than if they're an innovations company, they're an innovations company. If they're a wholesale company, they're a wholesale company. But think of Henry Ford, right? He created a system that just was like on repeat, and every single person on that assembly line had a different part to do. And the guy who was putting the tires on was not the guy washing it when it got all the way to the end, right? Like each person in that system just had one piece of the pie that they handled, and that's how we ran Nationwide Property Liquidators and made it so successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good advice. Cool.
There,
Do you have anything that we can give away to these people?
I was gonna say we do have
Yeah,
a code that I can throw in here.
I would love it. Throw it in
Let
the chat and
me
I'll throw it on the
put
screen.
this in the chat. Let me. There's one for leads and one for dialer that we
Okay.
can use for the easy REI closings link. You guys will get a little hookup there on leads and dialer, access to a trial, and a deal if you guys wanted to convert.
Nice. Well, there is that. That is in the chat, and I'll also throw in the dialer. And of course, if you're watching this later on YouTube, we will have it in the comments as well. So, and that is that the 7-day free.
Yeah, so they'll get access to the free trial and then a discount if they were willing to continue on a paid subscription.
Nice. Cool. Cool.
So,
Awesome. Well, Brian, I appreciate it, man. This is really good stuff. I think it's so important for newer investors. Sometimes I'll see people like, can I get a realtor to run my comps? Guys, that's absolutely crazy. You cannot
yeah, you
trust
could do it.
somebody else to do something so important in your business. That needs to be something that you control yourself. The price for this is ridiculously cheap. Click one of those links, go over there, check it out, do the free 7-day trial, go in there, play with it, download some data. And, I promise you, it works. Like the data works. We used it in our business, and this is what you need to do to if you're not wholesaling yet, to get out of the starting blocks. And then now, if you do have an existing company, all of these tools will just really throw gas on the fire and help you grow. So, well, cool. Yeah. I think that's it, man. I don't want to overwhelm them with too much stuff. I know we're going to have you come back and do some stuff where we're going to really dive into some of the really more very specific type things. But Brian, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for popping on today.
Thanks for having me on. You guys are doing great things in the industry, and we're glad to work alongside you.
Awesome. We were just out at the office back in January. It was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah.